What's up, guys? So today we are going over 10 things you must know when living in Hampton. And we're getting after it right now. What's up? So if you're new to this channel, we go over all of the work, eat, sleep, play, everything you could possibly need to know about living here in Hampton Roads. Here at Agents of the Armed Forces, we primarily deal with people that are PCSing, military members, things of that nature. However, because we have PCSed before, we know exactly what it's like to move your family, including pets, everything, and all the stresses that you go through when doing so. So, if this is the information that you want coming here to Hampton Roads, moving here, living in here, then, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so it helps our algorithm out, and then hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we put out new content. My name's Ed Wheeler. I'm a sailor and realtor here in Hampton Roads, and I'm getting calls and texts and emails from people just like you that are PCSing to Norfolk or PCSing to Fort Eustis, Portsmouth, and we absolutely love it. And if that's you, then give us a call, shoot us a text, email, snail mail, Facebook, doesn't matter, because we've got your back when moving to Hampton Roads. All right, guys, so today we're going over 10 things you must know when living in Hampton, Virginia. We're gonna add a bonus at the end, so stick around for that. But let's just dive right in. So first thing is, it's a military town. If you're military, you know that. Being in Hampton Roads, the largest naval base in the world is here in Norfolk, so Naval Station Norfolk. But as far as Hampton itself goes, it's right up there with everything else in Hampton Roads area. It is a large military town. So you've got Fort Eustis very close by, which is in Newport News. And then as far as Hampton goes, you have the Air Force Base Langley. Now, technically, Fort Eustis and Langley are a joint base together, even though they are separated. So it's a joint base, Fort Eustis Langley. In Hampton, there are 16 bases, like I said, including Naval Station Norfolk, but there's also the Portsmouth Naval Medical Center. There's NAS Oceana. There's a bunch of smaller bases, including Fort Story Little Creek. And then you have Dam Neck down south in Virginia Beach. Because there's that many bases, Hampton itself is very much a military town. There are a lot of military around. There's a lot of contractors around. So finding a job, if you have been prior military or you're active duty and you're PCSing here, it's right up there with all the other towns here in Hampton Roads, and very big military presence. All right, number 2 on the list is beaches. This whole area of Hampton Roads, you've got Chesapeake Bay, you've got the Atlantic. There's a ton of beaches that you can go to. The most notable one in Hampton is Buckrow Beach, and it's a very, very nice beach. A lot of people go to. All right, so number 3 is traveling around. Traveling around when you live in Hampton is not very difficult. You are in close proximity to almost everything in Hampton Roads. All of Hampton Roads is kind of like that, except for maybe if you live far south in Chesapeake or far south and west in Suffolk. It might not be as close, but Hampton is very close to a lot of things that you can access in Hampton Roads, which, it's not far from the Norfolk Naval Station. It's not very far from NAS Oceana. So getting around is easy. As far as being up there and having lots to do and getting around up on the peninsula where Hampton is, there's a lot of towns even up north. Williamsburg is very, very nice, and it's easy to get to. And then you have, as far as getting around and going, if you're going to be working at the Newport News shipyard, you're right there. So it's easy to get to. You don't have to worry about the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. It's very easy to get around. All right, so number 4 is that Hampton, Virginia actually has a ton of history. Just like the rest of Hampton Roads, it's steeped in history because of the location, because of the access to the Chesapeake Bay. It's very, very history oriented. So some of the things about Hampton is that it was founded in 1610, and it is considered the oldest English-speaking settlement in the United States. It's home to Fort Monroe, which has a ton of history behind it as well, which we'll get into later. But some of the things is that Fort Monroe was built, originally it was called a different fort, but after the War of 1812, Fort Monroe was built up, and it was used to help fortify the Chesapeake Bay, because that the area right below Hampton is kind of how you would get into Chesapeake Bay and opens a lot of shipping. So they wanted to fortify it right there. And then after the Civil War, Jefferson Davis was actually held prisoner in Fort Monroe as well. You know, like the rest of Hampton Roads, Hampton, Virginia is heavily historical. There's a lot of the wars happen around here, because it was one of the main places that was colonized from the beginning of the United States. The English tried to take it over, etc. So it's just got a lot of history, a lot of museums around here. All right, so number 5 is that it's really affordable. Hampton itself, compared to, say, Virginia Beach or Chesapeake, it is very affordable. The average home price in Hampton, Virginia is around $240,000, but that is the average. There are homes that are less, and there are homes that are a lot more, up into the $700,000, $800,000 range, because there are very, very nice parts of Hampton to live in. And then the cost of living in Hampton is actually slightly less than the national average. And so it makes it very affordable to live in Hampton, especially for our military members that are going to be stationed at Langley or Fort Eustis. Hampton is a very good place to look at if you're looking to buy a home. Number 6 is that you won't be bored. There's a ton of activities in Hampton, Virginia that you can access. You've got access to the Coliseum right there in Hampton. There's a ton of shopping all through Hampton. There's a lot of activities for kids, a lot of museums. There's just so much to do in Hampton that you really can't run out of options. It's so much stuff. You can go up to Williamsburg, you can go to Busch Gardens, and if you're military and you want to go to Busch Gardens actually offers a one time a year for a family of 4. It's a free pass to get in. You do have to pay for parking, and you would have to pay for things like food when you get into the park, but the ticket to get in is free. And then you still have access to the Virginia Zoo, a ton of museums down here in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. So you definitely will not be bored if you are living in Hampton. All right, so number 7. Number 7 is sort of a con. There are no sports teams. So in all of Hampton Roads, There are no sports teams. There's no national sports teams. There's no football team, no hockey team, no national baseball team. No sports teams are in Hampton Roads as a whole. Now you do have, college sports. There are a few things like sometimes they'll have like monster trucks come to the Coliseum, or you might have a few hockey games down in the Scope Arena in Norfolk, but there's no national sports team here in Hampton. Number 8 is Pirates. So once a year in Hampton, they hold a pirate festival where people dress up in traditional pirate garb. They talk like pirates. The whole 9 yards, and it's a fun little gathering. Bring your kids, the whole 9 yards. It's kind of cool. So once a year they do a pirate festival here in Hampton. All right, so number 9 is the HRBT traffic. So HRBT stands for Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. Everybody complains about the traffic. So that tunnel, and I'll pull up a map here, that tunnel is 2 lanes each way, and it's the primary way that people get to and from Newport News and Norfolk. It connects Norfolk to the Upper Peninsula, if you will. There are a couple other methods to get around that. They do add on some time, but the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is the primary way of getting from down south in Hampton Roads to the northern part of Hampton Roads. And it's pretty congested for the most part. At rush hour, it's bad. Other times, it's not bad. The big problem with it is if there is an accident in the tunnel, which does happen, you could be sitting there for quite some time. And most people don't like that at all. So if you are getting stationed down in Norfolk and you are considering living in either Newport News or Hampton, just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily a deterrent. I've got plenty of buddies that live in Newport News or Hampton, and they make the commute every single day to Norfolk to work. If your ship is in dry dock, sometimes it'll be up at the Newport News shipyard. So you may be considering living in Hampton due to that. And then once it comes out of dry dock or maintenance, then it would go back to Norfolk, and you would make the commute across the bridge to get to Norfolk every day. So the traffic can be pretty bad, but it's up to you if it's worth it or not to commute that every single day. I don't think it's too big of an issue. Most of the people, like I said, that I know that do that don't really have a problem with it. Every once in a while they do, but for the most part, it's not that bad. Number 10 is weather. So the weather in Hampton is much like the rest of Hampton Roads. It's cold in the winters. It can get snow. And then it's hot and humid in the summers. And then, of course, my favorite time is the spring and the fall, just because it's cooler and, you're not sweating your butt off and you're not freezing. So I like the fall and the spring, especially when the trees are all changing colors and everything. It's absolutely gorgeous. But the weather you're on the East Coast, so it's hot and it's humid in the summer. We do have the chance of hurricanes coming up the coast. And then the big thing about the weather, though, is as it gets warmer, and because you are on the coast and it's humid, there's a lot of mosquitoes. So keep that in mind as well. You kind of can't avoid them. It's just the way it is. So keep that in mind. But for the most part, the weather is pretty decent. I mean, it's not like you're living in Hawaii and you're the same temperature all year round. You have the different seasons, but overall the weather is pretty decent. All right, so I'm adding a bonus. The bonus is on Fort Monroe. So Fort Monroe is a huge historical site in Hampton. I highly recommend that if you come here and you live here for a little bit, you know, if you're just getting stationed for a few years here in Norfolk or Langley, that you check out Fort Monroe. The kids will like it. There's, there's things there for them. You get to learn a little bit more about the history of the United States. And Fort Monroe has literally, at least that site has literally been a fort pretty much since the United States was born. It's the oldest stone fort in the United States. And like I said earlier, it was built up again after the War of 1812 and used during the Civil War a lot. You know, they had in Hampton Roads, they had the ironclad fight between the two ships, and there's a museum for that. So Fort Monroe goes back as far as the United States was born, even before then when it was colonized. So it's huge when it comes to history for Hampton Roads. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on the 10 things you must know when living in Hampton, Virginia. If you did, give us a like. It helps our algorithm out. And then hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be notified every time we put out new content. And again, my name is Ed Wheeler. I'm a realtor and sailor here in Hampton Roads. And if you're PCSing to Norfolk, Langley, Fort Eustis, NES Oceana, Portsmouth Naval Medical Center, or if you're moving here for a job, let's say you got out of the military and you're coming in here to do contracting work, or any job that you're coming here for, please give me a call, shoot me a text, email, snail mail, does not matter, because I've got your back when moving to Hampton Roads.